Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to the show, The Big Agenda. Can you kindly officially introduce yourself to Nigerians?
Viewers, I'm happy to be on this platform. I'm Dr. Abubakar Yumusa Ahmad, a member of the National Assembly, House of Representatives specifically, and representing the good people of Yamaltu Deba Federal constituency from Gombe State.
Okay, sir. Reactions continues to trail the release of the 2022 budget proposal titled Budget of Economic and Sustainability presented by President Muhammad Buhari to the National Assembly, a budget of 16.39 trillion. And as analysts believe that this 2022 budget is inadequate to ease the plight of Nigerians, particularly in regards to the country's fiscal position. What can you say about the budget?
There are so many things to be said about the budget, but first and foremost is to give glory to the Lord for sparing us to witness such a scenario despite the turmoils and the handicap that befall the world globally, the pandemic of the COVID-19 effect, and generally on the global perspective, most economics, the economics of countries have melted down. No any country, no matter how powerful it is, that was not affected negatively. Nigeria, being part of those who are negatively and grossly affected, suffered. And that is why you see, judging from the 2020 budget implementation, we have a lot of agreement. And the 2021 budget that we are currently implementing was tagged, just like this one was say, budget of growth and sustainability. That one was also tagged a budget of resilience to consolidate the gains of the 2020 and then the losses to mitigate. And having said that, this 2021 is there to be resilience. We have made some growth coming out from the COVID-19 pandemic, but it was a negative growth. But when we come to 2021, the one that we are implementing now, as of June, 30th June, just a couple of months, that is the end of the second quarter, or better you can say first half, the Nigerian GDP under the 2021 performance growth by 5.01%. You know what that means? From 2020, we had a growth rate of just 1 point something when we get out of COVID. But the second quarter, when the hit of COVID was high, up to the third quarter, we retrogressed. We are growing at a minus percentage rate. Now for us to come, the last quarter of 2021 witnessed a significant growth. Now for the first, second, and half quarter, by the end of the half quarter of 2021, with the GDP growth at a rate of over 5%. That is tremendous. When you know it, when the economics listen to me, understood where we are coming from. Now, when you have that, and then the 2021 budget, like I told you, it says economic recovery and resilience. Now we have recovered much from our 2021 implementation. As I'm talking to you now, the capital component of the budget, forget about the recurrent salaries are at when due. So it's going on pro rata 100%. So now we are in October, the beginning of the final quarter, the remunerations were paid accordingly. But when you look at the capital component of the 2021 budget, there has been releases of almost 60%. To be precise, about 58.5%. And the president, while laying the estimate in front of us, promised that the capital component of the 2021 budget are going to be implemented 100%. It has never been done before. That's why I say we have cause to thank God and to glorify Him for these successes. Now, assuming without considering that the 100% capital component of the 2021 envisaged estimate are going to be implemented, Nigeria would have been taken out of the gloomy. So, and the budget justifies also its name of economic recovery and then resilience. Again, when you look at the component of the 2021 in terms of borrowing, when you look at the external, first, the external debt that we have, as of 30th June 2021, it is about over $33 billion. When you now take it, the Paris, London, and that all put together, what will suffice? As of 2021 indices shows, we have a threshold of 25% to borrow. And still, this figure fell within or below the threshold. So we have not even reached the threshold that people are shouting about the debt. But I am trying to tell you the performance of the 2021. Maybe when you ask issue about that, I will tell you. Suffice to say that the debt services of 2021, 2020, 2019, despite the pandemic, 2018, 17, and 18, when this government came into power, they have left their debt servicing responsibility 100%. In every year, before you borrow, you have the conditions. You have what you call a repayment. Go to the bank. When you want to do an overdraft or you want to take loan, they give you a repayment plan. So if year-on-year basis, Nigeria keeps to its own part of the deal, of the bargain, of living to its debt servicing plan 100%, I think it's qualified to get more and more debt. The problem with debt borrowing is not about collecting the debt itself, but the repayment plan. So if the borrowers saw you are planning how you pay and you are paying, they are ready to give you. Nobody is indebted. I was going through a chart which I wanted to share with you. Nigeria, when you take the top 10 most debted nation, Nigeria is not even here. 20, Nigeria's name is not there. When you come to Africa, Nigeria is not even among the first 4 or the first 6, despite being the giant of Africa. So, glory be to God. What are we shouting for? If there are other countries lesser than us, countries that are up to 2 or 3 states in Nigeria, can be more indebted than Nigeria, then why are we crying for? And then we have all the resources to mitigate. And again, you will see that there is, ever from independent, we have never budgeted so much. And this 2022 budget that we are talking, a budget of almost 16 trillion, I think is something to celebrate, meaning we are commensurable with our rate of growth. Nigeria is over 200 million now. You have to cater for the population. 20 years ago, Nigeria's population is less than 200 million. And in due course, it will be more. So when you don't plan, when you don't invest, when you don't spend more to mitigate the growth of population, then you find yourself somewhere. And so Nigeria is on the right trajectory, is on the right track to tackle this. So this budget of 2022 that you said, which was now tagged the budget of economic growth and sustainability, I laid emphasis on the 2021 to show you how we recovered some of our economic growth, where we are now. So the 2022 should now consolidate, sustain the gains, and even continue growing it. You are not now recovering it. You have recovered it to a threshold above. The GDP is now 5%. So the 2022 budget intends to accelerate it on a higher pedestrian than what it was in 2021. So by the end of the fiscal year of 2021, which will have been December or so, or March, because the budget implementation of the capital was delayed for about 3 months, probably it will be compensated. So by the end of that fiscal year of 2021, it might be February, it might be March, it might be December, depending on the parameters put in place. We would have achieved 100% capital implementation. We will have achieved 100% debt servicing. We will have achieved all the 100% of the trajectory of 2021. Then we are good to go. Then this 2022 should now build up, and that is the intent. And when you look at the 2021 to 2024, the growth planning schedule that was done, table, you discover that up to now we have not derailed. We are still on course and we are following it point on point and religiously. So to me, after all this consideration and explanation, I am now qualified to say the budget of 2022, as it has been acronym, Budget of Growth and Sustainability, has earned its name, and putting all this mechanism in place, because we emphasize to even borrow from the quantum leap that we had in 2021 to improve, to improvise, just like these non-oil taxes. We have achieved it higher in 2021. So we will now consolidate, plug the loopholes, and then open the gate that will have an influx of this non-oil revenue, thereby consolidating the budget. So it is a budget of hope.
Okay, so if I'm not wrong, I heard you say that Nigeria has brought some growth economically with the previous budget. Now, talking about that, can you lay more emphasis? Because when you talk about the growth, a lot of Nigerians there are very confused, whereby things keep increasing every day. You look at the cooking gas and just everything, and there is no job provision. So how has that contributed to growth in Nigeria, can be asked?
You see, when you are talking in terms of real market value, yes, there are inflations. That's what we call inflation. Despite the hike in prices, what is the volume of trade, if I may ask? The volume of trade have increases. Now, the volume of trade, which measures the volume of activities, shows the capability attitude of a nation and even individual. Yes, you have more money that can buy less, but what of the activities considering our economy? Now, the issue is, we should be asking ourselves, Nigeria has shifted from a producer nation, an exporter nation, to an importer nation. The question we should be asking is rather, we should be asking ourselves, what are we going to do for the country? Not what the country can do for us. With this growth, a lot of people are saying unemployment. When you say unemployment, it baffles me. Why do we have to rely solely on government for employment? Government has a threshold of people that can, or employable adults or people in the country. Take a particular state. Give me like Imo, Abia, Bauchi, Gombe. Take any of the state. What is the population of the civil servant? Assuming that every vacancy will be filled, what is their percentage compared to the other populace? The civil servants are there. Take the public servants, all of them, that is the federal government. How many percentage of the whole federal government public service rate compared to our general population of over 200 million? And I think the number of federal government workers, I don't think if they are up to 10 million. You journalists do this assignment and find out. Now, assuming, without considering, that all our revenues, we have employed every employable adult, and we employ them, where do we generate the money to pay their salaries? Government cannot do that. And that is where we are. Gone are the days when the total graduate from the universities that are employable, meaning they can get employment, they are less than 1,000. About 4 or 5 universities graduating 100, some 50, some 70. When you aggregate them, they are less than 1,000. So some of them, even during their university final year, they are doing youth service, they have already gotten employment. But what of now? All the vacancies have been filled up. So the question should have been, what can I do? Even if I employ myself, at least I have added to the production quota of the country. Why can't I employ myself? I believe this is a private media organization. Why must all journalists graduated must be employed by a by a government-owned media, NTA? They have filled up all the vacancies. And that is why government created an enabling environment, gave up licenses. Yesterday, somebody came here, Halomes, with his own license for independent broadcasting. So, which I believe these prime reporters also got their own. So, to liberalize the market, now Prime Power now is a proud employer of labor. All of you now working for Prime Power, you cannot say that you are not employed. So, if you are blaming the Nigerian government for not employing, or we have an unemployment rate in the general Nigerian populace, what has Prime Power contributed in redeeming? Did you broaden your best? You are here in Abuja, are you in Lagos, are you in all the states that you can employ? If now your staff strength is 300, did you have a plan of reaching 5,000? So that you can reduce 5,000 from the labor market. Now this is Prime. How many independent media houses, electronic or print media that have come on board? And if everybody can do, can't you see the quantum leap you are going to fetch people from the labor market to add to that they can be employable? Okay, assuming those people that were not employed, individually you engage in, even this Facebook, take a product, market it, sell it, engage in Korea, get people in Abuja here who are interested in palm oil, go to the east, the south, where they are producing palm oil, package it, bring it to them, send it on social media. How many graduates are utilizing that? So then, by so you are doing, you earn little things, you have employed yourself. You have given the transporters you can do, you have given them employment. There are a lot of people when you look at the value chain. So instead of us to be asking, we have unemployment, what have we done to mitigate the numerous number of unemployable persons in Nigeria? So this has been the question. Then Nigeria has made tremendous effort through NDE, National Directorate for Employment. They have created, they have in, year out, they are training millions. Where are those people? The politicians, look at this constituency project. They have been doing empowerment. But rather, I will do empowerment in my own constituency, give them tricycle, instead of them to do keke nape, there is an off-taker near, a merchant, that I bought this tricycle over 500,000, he's ready to sell it 250,000. Collect the money to go and marry, or to go and repair his car, or to go and eat opu, or to go and eat fish, or to eat pomo. And you are blaming me. Instead of him to use this tricycle to even give his son or somebody to employ, to be bringing money so that they will be sharing. Haven't you created employment? So you go to this, you give them pumping machine for irrigation. You bought this 50,000. Somebody is there, they will sell 50,000, collect the money, pocket it, go and dream whatever. And you are blaming. So the National Assembly, all your representatives are trying to do empowerment. Now NDE are doing empowerment. Look at this social program, this social development by the office of the, now humanitarian ministry. They have been doing all these things, giving people 5,000. I can count you more than 1,000 houses in the north, Jigawa state, Popora state, that with this 5,000, a lady was able to breed a number of gold, and she is now self-dependent. For goodness sake, haven't the government created a enabling environment? Why bedevil it? Must everybody be employed by the government? You have a threshold of, so let us be thinking outside. I think we are being unrealistic with ourselves. That is that aspect. So for somebody to say unemployment, we are lazy. Now let's come back to the real question. All this inflation is that by the time we created enough jobs, we will have enough purchasing power to mitigate whatever. Because the issue, things are expensive if you cannot afford it. But once you can afford an item, it's no longer expensive to you. That is one. Secondly, we have to chip in these little avenues to create job. Even when you do a gardener, as a woman, you are a full-time housewife, get some acres within your all these big fence that your husband carry. You only occupy a big one and you have all these, you put green grass, flowers, you are enjoying yourself. Reduce these flowers and put economic fruit. Put peanuts, all this, and have a store with a deep freezer and be selling groceries, tomato. Before you know it, you realize your children's school fees from this issue. How many are we that intuitive? So this is the issue to address the issue. So to me, I don't want to use the word that we are lazy or we were not educated or we are not all that smart enough to use what we get, what we have to get what we don't. And that's what we are all claiming. So the issue of these high prices has to be there. Besides, that is why this government is borrowing enough and is investing in infrastructure so that we can now revamp our moribund industries. We will return to the years where you have all these textiles flourishing in Lagos, flourishing in Kaduna, see Kano, revive the ginnery in Funtua all over, the cocoa production plant, all this. 1985, NIFO, National Institute for Oil Farm Research, produced palm seed trees for Malaysia. Now Malaysia is the global world leading exporter of palm oil. Where are we? What happened to our NIFO? What happened to the researches that we made? So government is doing that and is borrowing to do that. Unlike previous government who borrow for consumption. You remember Ngozi, before she left as the Minister of Finance, she says Nigeria is borrowing to pay salaries. Where do we go? So for us that we have turned the table now, that Nigerians now have been paying their salary, they are not borrowing to pay salary, but they borrow to invest. And that is what they now call GOE, government-owned enterprises. And that's why this PIA came in to break the genes, to make petroleum business, which is the cash cow of Nigeria, to be run as an enterprise, as a business, not it is my own, it is a national cake. I want to have my share. If I become the GMD, I say I can empower myself first, empower my household, and it become family and friends affair. So we want to run away from that. We run it as a company of its own. When you do right, you get reward. When you do wrong, you get fired. And it's no longer family and friend business in government. And this government has succeeded and is succeeding and sustaining. That is why we want to grow the economy and sustain the kind of parameters and approaches that are being used to gauge it. So, my dear viewers or listeners, there is more. When you ask the Nigerian government, there are more questions you should ask yourself. The general Adachi Malango say when you point an accusing finger to one, remember 3 fingers are pointed at you. First, ask yourself. Answer those 3 questions before you ask the Nigerian government. 1, what are you doing? Are you surely just waiting for what the government can do for you or what you can do for the government? Just J.F. Kennedy, when he became the US president, he says, let's all rise and find our proper places in the sun. Let's not be asking what the country can do for us, but rather what can we do for the country. And it was on this premise that the United States was there, and that's why they are flourishing. Take China, take Japan. What deliberate policies have government put? So you should be asking rather, what mechanism has the government put in place so that I can tap? The social investment programs are there, all these are there, the ND are there, find one another. The graduate scheme, the market women scheme, they call it trader money, whatever, all this has been there. A lot of billions has been done, and because there are no statistics, nothing, people are not feeling the impact. And people took it to be okay. If I've been giving this 5,000 every month, they regarded it as a salary. If a trader woman is given 10,000, take a woman frying akara. With 10,000 she invests. By the time she fried akara and everybody, all those akara was sold, I'm telling you, she will realize money of 20,000. So she will have 100% return on investment. But what are we doing? This 10,000 is not given to her as a salary, but because monthly this is given, she now regards it as a Stephen. So people translate it. How can 10,000 sustain a family of 10? But when you turn it around, that 10,000 can turn out to be millions. So that resilience, that is why this budget is a budget of resilience, the 2021. To insist and to work to get out of that. So if we peel the bench, then we should wake up and face it squarely, rather than previously we are borrowing, we are paying salary, we are borrowing, all government contract, and the president, so family and friend, I give you, not, you do contract, you squander it, some you collect money, you cannot even do it. I was just reading before I climbed onto this interview, I saw it and I even read it aloud, that a son of one of the national security advisors hides money somewhere. Because his father got money and they have access and they hide the money. Where are the $2 billion that were borrowed, that were approved for arms? It all been divided to some Christian to go to Jerusalem and pray for the government, some to go to Mecca and pray for the government. You hire prayer contractors. So, I mean, this is the wastefulness that we have been done. Now, we got injured. With our injury, we now visited a hospital. A doctor came to treat. They have to wash the wound, and while cleaning the wound before applying medication, we feel the pain. And this is the pain we are paying. But at the end of the day, the wound will get healed. And when you get healed, forget about it. So this is a journey of healing. And this is the price that we have to pay before we get healed.
Okay, sir, still on this budget, talking about deficit, out of 16.39 trillion, the estimated value revenue is 10.13 trillion. We are
borrowing more than 30% to fund the budget.
Okay, now this implies that the fiscal operation could result to 6.62 trillion deficit. Is it ideal for Nigerians to borrow and fund their budget?
Well, no, that's why I ended the question, because I know where you are landing, and I've answered that. Since we are living up to our budget obligations of debt servicing, go to any bank. If you can borrow 10 billion today and you can pay up, the bank, once you show your capacity to pay, they will double it for you next time you go for a loan. Ask everybody, that's the convention. So if Nigeria is not found wanting in that act, then why would it borrow? I just show you that even with the amount of borrow that we borrow from China, borrow from that, go to African countries, Nigeria is not on the top. Globally, we are not even among the first 10 most indebted nations. So why are we crying? The most important, election is around the corner. We should elect leaders that will ensure that the borrowed amount have yielded tenfold what it is designed for, so that we can pay the debt and then become a producer nation and run away from debt. So we shouldn't be scared of debt as long as we can pay. So if Nigeria is even borrowing holistically to fund the budget, I see nothing wrong about it. Talk less of only 33% that they are borrowing. I belong to the 8th Loan Debt Committee. We have examined their performances and we have approved. So any loan that Nigeria is willing to take, we can approve it as long as it has fallen within the yardstick we do. And like I told you, get any credit person in a bank. Once you can, and that is what keeps the banks. The volume of transaction, the COT, that's what means. Can you tell me any bank in Nigeria, commercial bank, that has declared loss at the end of their AGM meeting? Every bank is declaring profit in billions of our denomination. Why do you think so? They got COT, which we are not charging. And that is the VAT that we are introducing. Is commission and then this commission on turnover. So if everybody can pay, I just mentioned that our non-revenue taxes is growing at about 900% rate. Meaning, what we generated 2-3 days ago, today we are generating 900 times it. And so we are good to go. So it is now Nigeria that is being placed on a proper, clear-cut, and rewardable or profitable trajectory.
Okay, sir. Now let's look into the implementation of this budget.
Number one, all ongoing projects must be complete, and there has to be a time frame, because most projects come with their completion period. The issue of uncompleted projects initiated by a regime, let's say this regime started, and then when it is out, if another government comes in, they now abandon the project initiated by this government. I will come to the reason why they are doing that, but that needs to be stopped. And this is now government. But within the government, you discover an MBA has a project, and the tenure of the this one has finished, and then the successor comes in. Then he tends to abandon what his predecessor started and have not been completed. That also should be stopped. So once there is a project, there has to be a calculated attempt. I'm talking of the infrastructure development now. And then we have, while this is in place, we now look at our recurrent expenditure. Let's look inward, government and then individuals or individual MPs. We have to really find a way to cut cost of governance. You can cut cost of governance from the rate or
The way we are doing our international travels, we should avoid first class, avoid business class, or even avoid traveling at all. Now we took advantage of virtual. Thanks, that is one of the benefits that we got from the advent of COVID-19. At least virtual meetings have come up. A meeting that you have to travel, spend a lot of resources, you can take 1/10 of that resources and be on Zoom platform anywhere, and then you do what you call virtual meeting. Even court session now have been started. We have done the Federal Executive Council meeting has been being done virtually. So if that is the case, why can't we rally on this to minimize the cost of foreign trade? And if we must embark on that trip, why must we use business or first class? We can use economy. There are present of so many countries that are traveling on economy. That's number one. All these our governors taking this private jet, if it's no matter of emergency. But the governor now take it as a show of class, that he can take a private jet for the whole day, shuttle from state X to Abuja severally in the daily or on daily basis. I mean, taking the private jet. Some states are even owning private jet. For what? The cost of that private jet, how much can it do when you translate it into infrastructure? So that is in terms of traveling. When you now look at certain things of government, every year you look into the budget component, even this one is there. Computer stationaries, batching computers, everything. You don't need to change computer, but you can upgrade. And 2-3 years, you can do upgrade. Why every year changing the computer softwares instead of going for upgrade, which is cheaper? So we look into all the stationaries in terms of computer, in terms of everything, and then the earlier, even if we have to borrow money, this Galaxy backbone to there so that we can have a data bank. It will also go in a long way to do preserve storage, and every minister and MD will be anchored there at the Galaxy backbone. So there are so many things that the other world are doing, but we are still, people are going digital, we are still analog. People are trying to go and rent house in in Moon, we are trying to come out from Ogeli village to the state headquarters or to the local government headquarters. So I've just give this as a parable to understand the backwardness we are, and we need to wake up to catch up with the digital age. Again, government also should look as a deliberate. Like I say, I came in now, I have 4-year tenure or 5-year tenure. I have to introduce project that can have a lot of kickbacks, the 10%, and make myself rich. Because the one done by my predecessor must have collected his own kickback. So I don't want to continue. If I continue, I will be funding it. The contractor didn't even know me. Look at that mentality. That thing should change. Our act of patriotism should change. So the government should do a deliberate plan to mitigate against this, so that you can save a lot of resources, that you can pay for services, and you can provide infrastructure. By so doing, in the implementation of budget, coming back to your question, now translate all this my explanation into the budget implementation. You will see we will make not just a quantum leap, but in fact we will overshoot our expectation in the budget. Talk less to say corruption. A lot of people are putting projects. The ICPC, EFCC are there. A lot of government agents, be it in the legislature, be it in the judiciary, be it in the executive, that they are putting projects just to fund their own nest, or rather, the philosopher can say, feather their own nest. That should be stopped.
Okay, sir. On that part, you have spoken absolutely well. Now, let's throw a little light on the youth and the future of Nigeria. Okay, youth are critical stakeholders in every nation and society, not just because they represent the future of such country or nation. They also form the pillar of the strength and vibrancy. Looking at the visibility, the quest for who mounts leadership position at various levels ahead of the political year 2023 have started gaining quest. Do you think Nigerian youth are ready to take responsibility of leadership?
Well, suffice to say, based on the premise, the preamble you've done is correct, and I will add also that a nation that does not invest in its youth has already signed its death certificate. It's already dead before the actual time of death, because the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. Now, when you talk of investment in the youth, it goes a long way. You have to really aggregate this youth. By what? Preparing them. Consciousness. Making them to realize. Until a country has done that, let me be specific, until Nigeria has done that, at the federal, at the state, at the local government level, at the what level, at the polling unit level, as long as this is not done, youth are not prepared and ready to take as a leadership. Let me just give you a simple example. 2-3 years, we have the NSAS something, initiated by who? The youth. Initially, they had sympathies, but because they couldn't manage it well, hoodlums hijack, see what happened. Look at their mentality of leadership. Just go to that, examine that, x-ray that scenario. And look at so many youths that climb power because their thinking is that get rich syndrome, GRS, is there. Somebody that has taken years, over 60, working for the government. There are so many of them who are patriotic that they don't even own a house for themselves. But because he saw himself in school with a child, let me give you an example. I appeared in an interview panel before I came into the National Assembly. That was about 10 years ago. We employ a father begged us that his son has applied. We said, okay, fine. When we came to, and I happened to be one of the panelists in the interview. After doing the interview, the boy is just a graduate, and we asked him, how much are you expecting to be paid? He says 500,000. At that time, a graduate is not taking up to 100,000. You're thinking of 70, 80,000 thereabout. And the guy was expecting 500. When we asked him, can you justify? He said, well, while I was in school doing my undergraduate, my pocket money from my father is 350,000. So now that I've graduated and I'm to be employed, why do you think I can take something less? Can you see the psychology and the mentality of the youth? My sister and viewers, Nigerian youths are not yet ready. I participated in the last assembly and championed the cause of not too young to run. But then, much has to be done. At the home level, we have to train our children. During our days when we are growing up, we don't know what is nursery school. But we do to primary school, we sell yam, we carry a label on our head to get money to pay and sponsor our schools, to sew clothes for ourselves. We did secondary school, and then we graduated. But now, even nursery school, you pamper your child, carry car, leave your working place, say I'm taking my child to school. Primary, secondary, when he graduated, you are following employment for him. Abba. And when do you think the son can grow? Or your daughter can grow? I remember, there is a popular story, and it happened to one of these multinationals. I won't mention the company, but somebody, her father was very, very meticulous, very, very uncorrupt. And a lot of his peers are getting this, but he dedicated himself as a civil servant. And he mentored his children to be there. All his children in the university, they were bluffing him. On his dying bed, he was addressing his daughter that please take after me. She told him point blank at his face that who will take after you? A lot of people are looking this, What legacy? What are you leaving us with? She wouldn't know until she went for an interview. When she graduated, after the father must have died 2-3 years, she went for an interview. When she mentioned her name, part of the panelists realized that what kind of the surname, what Edward did you belong to? You see, that so Edward says, he said, oh, that was mentor. He mentored me, told me this. Because of that, she earned this favor. And like that, she has been earning the favor of the people her father mentored, not collecting material things from her. And she even assumed and become the chief executive of that company. It is now she realized what value her father is telling her. And she was not begging the father while he's dead. I don't know whether we have gotten a lesson in this. So what lessons are we teaching our younger ones, we the parents? When your child knows nothing, he is riding power bike, doing that. During his wedding, you do lavish something for him. He is not yet employed. What do you expect him to do if you hand over the country to them? So the issue is we should, and then to the youth, they also have to cultivate a habit of dining and wining with the elders. Because a child that washes his hand will eat with the elders. And you know what I mean by washing hands. So more of the youth of nowadays are not washing their hands. They eat with the elders with dirty. As a political person now, you are relating with all these youth. The next child, you are relating, you saw somebody, then the next thing now is, I need money to do my hair. That is the condition is too hot, I need money. So they become beggars. And once you provide, you make them to become more lazy. And that is why they are not industrious. So the teaching, the inculcation must start from the home to the schools. We must change our school curriculum to instill able nationhood from the schools down to our working place, and by so doing, the child will grow up already. He has the repair of washing his hands, and he can dine and wine, so he can assume. No wonder Yakubu Gawan was the head of state at the age of 32. Some of them, like Maitama, was a federal minister at the age of 20-something. So, but carry a child of 20-something now, put him as a governor. See how recklessly. We have seen some reckless governors the way they behave. Abi? So that is the issue. So let us prepare our youth. That is what, now let me come back to my opponent's statement. Investing in the youth. It inculcates all this in all its ramifications. You have to train, you have to program your youth, you have to prepare your youth for leadership. Until you do that, you will definitely extinct. We will expire. and the youth will take over. By the time they took over and introduced their mentality, these Yahoo boys were finished.
That's a nice answer. Okay, now, lastly on this show, The Big Agenda, sir, we are faced with this nightmare of insecurity. And I believe, every Nigerian believes that the major basic of our government is to provide safety, which is security. But as the case may be, everyone lives in fear, insecurity, problem here and there. What do you think the government can do, or how far do you think the Mr. President has done to resolve this issue?
In as much as I'm not holding brief for Mr. President, and also I'm not denying the fact that we are insecure. No matter the level of insecurity we are facing now, the government and the President Commander-in-Chief have tried, and he is still trying, and he has done his best. It is we now. It takes two to tango. When citizens want to be protected security-wise, then how security conscious, we ask ourselves. What role can we also contribute while we are becoming security conscious? Previously, a stranger cannot enter into your community without being identified and then coded to be known. But today, we wake up, a stranger can come here, we can give him rent as long as he comes with the money. In fact, if the rent is 20,000 yearly, that guy is ready to give 50,000. We will not question his character. He could be a criminal hiding under. It is that landlord, because that guy is giving him money, will be covering him. No matter what the president is doing, with this kind of attitude, we cannot be secured. And who will you blame? You blame Mr. President? That is the issue. So in every community, we give, look at this Zamfara scenario. A lot of emirs, traditional leaders, covering the hoodlums criminal, conniving with them to collect. Come to the security agent prosecuting the war. They share intelligence with the criminal for money. Oh, where is this corruption? And you are blaming Buhari? Or blaming the government? Whereas some of the government functionaries in Katsina, it happened. You negotiate with the Kankara boys. Can you imagine the money the government gave and how much when the bandit and the kidnappers the kidnapper were apprehended? What do they say? How much money was given to them? Much chunk of that money goes into the hand of the civil servant that prosecuted the negotiation. What kind of country? And yet you blame the governor? So when you look at it, like I say, when we point one finger, let's answer the other three fingers that are pointed at us. There are so many things. In Kaduna, somebody that is doing into just is a kind of a trader. What do you call these people that peddlers? No, they peddle. These people now that walk on the street, are those as traders. That's the name they use to give them. Just carrying bread on a tray, on a box, on side by school. When he got connected to the bandit, he ended up having a bread bakery. So producing bread, and the bread he will sell in town for 200 naira, he is selling it to them 500 naira. I mean, more than getting 250% of it, or 150%. Then he now take it to the bandit until he was apprehended. He is their major supplier of bread. He will and you still blame El Rufai as the governor for not securing the people? The government is securing people, but we don't want to be secured. That is the situation. Okay, you put things in press, cut off communication, cut off even to the bandit, and you discover somebody giving them information and was serving as a courier. And this is what is happening generally. Prior to the blockade of this communication, bandit arrange with evil people. You go to filling station in the outskirts of the town, they are there, surveillance. Once they know that you are filling your tank, you are a traveler, they know. So if you are embarking from Abuja to Kaduna, they call the bandit and tell them so number. This, because of experience, they know the time you will arrive, at the rate you are, they open fire and they rob you or they kidnap you. And yet, if this thing happened, we say the police did not secure us. I mean, where are we going? So the issue is, the government is ever ready, as contained in chapter 4 of our constitution. The fundamental reason of having governance is to provide security, welfare, securing the people. The government is ready to do its constitutional role, but are we ready to be secured? Vis-a-vis what I've highlighted. How can you move about? You don't even know who is following you, who is your neighbor, who is that, and you say you're security conscious. But to God be the glory. Circumstances, necessity has taught us to link inward. Go to any neighborhood now, you see they barricade, they have this neighborhood security, they are trying to secure themselves. So heaven help those who help themselves. Let's help the government so that we can be secured properly.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And at this point, we come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining us on the big agenda. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you. This is my pleasure too.
Guys,